Today I'm making some tomato sauce. As you probably know, my crop this year wasn't good at all. So I took all of my aromas that I had in my garden along with some from Cody's mom and I put them all in this bucket. Even have a little bag right here. I've got my food strainer set up. I decided to go back and use the Victorio food strainer from last year since I'm experienced in it. I did get a Squeezo, which is a nicer one at a yard sale, but I really haven't delved into it at all, so I thought I'd go with what I know for this time. Over here I've got my jars cooling down. I just sanitized some of them and I'm going to be putting some more in there. So my first step is going to be to clean these tomatoes and then we're going to run them through the strainer. It seems like the easiest thing to do is going to be to do these in small batches where I clean these and then I run them through the strainer. One thing I thought was kind of interesting, these are my aromas. This is what ours look like. And then this is an example of what Cody's mom's look like. So huge difference there. I don't know why ours is so fat, but I guess that's a good thing. So we'll run this through and I'll show you how this thing works. Okay, here we go. Here's our first tomato. You just throw it in this hopper up here. You can see that. And then you kind of push it down and turn this thing. It gets a little messy. It's when you really get this thing going that you can see how awesome it is. I don't know if in this shot you can see all the stuff coming out of there. I'll give you a bit of a better look here. So this is where everything starts, and then this is what you want to keep. This is all of the tomato sauce that's coming out of there. And then this is all the bad stuff. So basically it's going to start pushing that through. The more tomatoes I put through there, it's going to put it all into this bowl. That's going to be for the chickens, and this is going to be for my sauce. And then it all goes down in here, which is kind of neat. Yeah, I'll even tilt that down a little more. There you go. Pretty cool. First batch is done. That's the amount of sauce that we got from that. Now this is really watery. What'll happen is this is going to boil down when you actually cook it, so it'll be a good bit less than that. But it really, this thing makes life so much easier by getting rid of all that stuff. It's unbelievable how much time saved from that. Take the rest of these tomatoes from this bucket here and rinse them off and run them through the machine over there, and then I'll be back with you. That's the end of my tomatoes. That's the sludge that's left over for the chickens, and there's still more in there. And here's all the sauce I ended up with. So I have that heating up right now, and now we're going to get on to the cooking portion of this. With your tomato liquid boiling, you'll come over here, and this is all the other stuff I'll be using. This isn't exact measurements. This is just what I have prepared. Most of the stuff I grew myself. These onions I grew. This is garlic, which I grew. I grew this green bell pepper. This I didn't grow. And then you have tomato paste and sea salt. And then lastly, I'll be using some of this, which is basil. I'll put that in there as well. Being that I don't know how many quarts this is going to make, it's going to make it pretty hard for me to determine how much of this stuff to use. So I'm just going to start chopping a little bit of this up at a time and throwing it in there, use my best judgment. And I think that should work out just fine. That's sort of what I did last time. And then way later, you're going to end up putting this tomato paste in. Heat some olive oil up in a pan, and while that's warming up, you're going to want to start cutting up all your stuff, which I started here. There's what my mix looks like. If you're wondering about measurements, that's what I have left. So that everything else that was sitting there is all in there. And I'm going to put this on the stove next. Isn't that pretty? You let that simmer on there for a while, and then you're going to throw it into your sauce mix. Here's the sauce with all the vegetables in there. And then over here, this is the basil that I'm going to use, and I'm going to use 1 tablespoon of salt. Hopefully that's not too much. I'm just kind of going as I go here. With the basil in there, you're going to let that boil for about another hour. I'm going to put my tomato paste in and then boil it for another 2 hours, and it should be reduced enough that it's a nice thicker sauce. In the meantime, you guys want some of this? Here you go. Let's see how they do with that. As you can see, they have a cabbage out here. Oh yeah, that's good stuff. Pretty much. Here comes the other hen. Step back a little bit. Let's see what they do. Oh yeah. That's like pure tomato paste there. They love the seeds and stuff that's inside that. It's been boiling for about 2 hours. I decided I'm going to put both of these tomato pastes in just to thicken it up a little bit. So as you can see over here, it's still pretty watery. It's got a long way to go, but you can see how much it's come down from the side there. And we should still end up with a decent amount of sauce, hopefully. We'll put some extra spices in there, and we're going to put a little bit of sugar in just to sweeten it up a little bit after tasting it. Here's the sauce after about 4 hours. As you can see, it's a lot thicker than it was, and you can see how much it's cooked down from that level down to here. So I'm ready to jar this up, and curious to see how many jars we get out of this because it's gone down quite a bit. All the sauce is out of the pot, and this is what we ended with. 3, and we'll call it 3/4 of a quart. Not quite what I was hoping for, but with a bad crop, that's sort of what you're stuck with there. The final step is going to be take the pot outside, and I'm going to rinse that out with the hose, and then I'm going to put the jars in there for one final water bath to seal them up really well. And then that's going to be it for making tomato sauce for this year. It really is a bummer when you think about all the work that goes into this, from starting the seeds to planting them in the garden to maintaining the weeds to waiting for the crop, which didn't yield a whole lot, to spending all afternoon making the sauce, letting it boil down and reduce, to only end up with 3 quarts is really a bummer. But I do this for pride because it's something that I have started from scratch, and I did it all myself. I've had good years, which like last year, and then this year is a bad year, but I still did it, and I still have 3 quarts of sauce, so I'm happy about that, and I'm happy to share this with you. So thanks for watching, and I'll have more videos up here soon.